The M Night Shyamalan Theory. What if I told you that all of M Night Shyamalan's movies are connected, and that all of those characters in all of those movies actually live in the same universe, only in different times, and that maybe, just maybe, M Night Shyamalan is pulling the greatest twist of all, and we don't even know it. Until now. How is that possible? Well, anything's possible with the M Night Shyamalan Theory. Spoiler alert. Our story begins with the movie The Village, where we follow a group of depressed history buffs who have given up hope on the modern changing world. They see man as the root of all evil and want to separate themselves from civilization. For some reason, they can sixth sense the coming doom, so the village people leave behind the modern world and decide to party like it's 1799. The theme of this film is that mankind is evil and must be stopped for the greater good. This theme will be repeated throughout Shyamalan's career. The village people begin to tell stories about monsters to the next generation to keep them from venturing into the woods and experiencing the present day. Of course, the twist is that it's a lie and the monsters are not real, they're just old people in suits. But maybe this lie is based in some truth, as are all lies. The film itself even states that there were stories of monsters in those woods, and the elders were inspired by those stories.
There did exist rumors of creatures in these woods. It is in one of the history books I used to teach in the towns.
M. Night Shyamalan gives us another clue to the truth about these monsters in the prologue to Lady in the Water. A narrator tells us of how mankind used to coexist with the magic sea people, but then evolved to live off the land and eventually destroy the land. Shyamalan warns of the destruction of the environment in almost every film he makes. Is this a warning to the real world outside of the silver screen? Does Shyamalan know something we don't? The monsters in the village are attracted to the bad color, red. This color is also used by the director in The Sixth Sense during key paranormal scenes. The color red appears to represent fear and pain. Maybe the color red was actually attracting the ghosts, and maybe the monsters in the woods are actually ghosts. But don't worry, the village people are safe from the monsters if they just wear their yellow superhero hooded capes, and they kind of look like what Bruce Willis wore in Unbreakable. Coincidence? It can't be. It simply cannot be. The main characters in the village are Joaquin Phoenix and a blind Bryce Dallas Howard. We learn that the Joaquin Phoenix character is able to suppress his fears. This mind power is the beginning of a technique that a millennium or so from then will be called ghosting. This ability to control fear would eventually be perfected by Cypher Rage from After Earth. But the story of the village is really about the blind girl as we follow her into the monster-filled woods. After killing a monster, she manages to kinda discover that, surprise, she's in modern day. But she's blind, so she doesn't really ever know her own twist ending. There she meets a park ranger who helps her complete her mission. The park ranger is lectured by his supervisor, some Indian American guy, about not getting too close and not asking questions. This man knows something unusual is going on in the woods, but he doesn't look into it because this is just a temporary job. He's only there to raise money for medical school because his family made him give up on his dream to become a writer. He will return. He is important. Remember him, even though you can't see his face. In M. Night Shyamalan's first feature film, Praying with Anger, he actually tells us the backstory of this Indian American park ranger guy. Before he worked at the wildlife sanctuary, he was just a young American college kid studying abroad in the land of his forefathers, India. He aspires to be a writer, but won't see success until after the events in Lady in the Water. We'll get to that later. The Indian American English major goes on a spiritual journey to connect with his heritage and his dead father. This character even has a paranormal encounter with his father's ghost.
Something's happening.
Other characters in this film have a sixth sense too and often speak of the supernatural.
Was that a chicken's head outside in that tree?
Yes. It's put up there when somebody sees a ghost.
41 minutes into the film, one of the supporting characters says the phrase, "strange happenings."
People have experienced some strange things in this house. Strange happenings. And so they've asked this woman to come in and do a ceremony to ask the ghost to leave. Come on, dude.
Happenings? Is this the first sign of M. Night's master plan? Is he already subtly warning us about the events in the happening? Then the film goes on to say,
She says the spirits appeared because of you.
She says you have a clean soul. Spirits like you.
In his first film ever, M. Night is already telling the audience that this character will be important to the cinematic universe he created. This is where we really begin to see the genius that is M. Night Shyamalan. The next chapter in the chronological Shyamalan timeline is the children's film Wide Awake. M. Night's plan is now coming into action as he continues to mischievously place hidden clues that human beings are changing. They are becoming more connected to the spiritual world, especially the youth. As we see in our protagonist, he mourns the loss of his grandfather and often speaks to him from beyond the grave. But the audience is led to believe that this is just narration and flashbacks, but that is not the case. This boy is communicating with the ghost of his grandfather. Yes, just like the American student in India, this boy has a sixth sense. M. Night Shyamalan has taken us into a world where human beings are developing powers. Maybe the aspiring writer and this little Catholic schoolboy aren't the only ones. Maybe there's others out there developing other types of superpowers. Similar to the main character in Praying with Anger, the little Catholic schoolboy begins to question God and authority. This mindset in Shyamalan's society is the beginning of what will one day become a violent, rebellious uprising, or a revolution, or Armageddon, depending on how you look at it. And even this film has a twist. He finds out that this little blonde kid has been a guardian angel, or a nymph, or a ghost, or something this whole time, providing proof to the spirit world. And one of the chapters in Wide Awake is called The Signs, which is proof that M. Night had this plan all along and was warning us about the alien invasion. The next film in the Shyamalan timeline is The Sixth Sense. It dealt with a child whose newly evolved spiritual powers are stronger and more obvious than that of the Wide Awake kid and the Praying with Anger guy. In The Sixth Sense, we meet up again with the Praying with Anger guy. He is now a doctor. When he sees Haley Joel Osment, he realizes he's looking at the next stage of human evolution, but wants to keep it a secret. He works with Robin Wright from Unbreakable, and has overheard strange rumors about her husband having some kind of special powers. He has seen other cases like this, but could not prove anything and was ridiculed in the medical community. He makes up a child abuse story so he can further study this case in private. This eventually leads to him getting fired and sued. He moves away to a small farm town, changes his identity, and becomes the local veterinarian. He would have many ups and downs in his life, including accidentally killing Mel Gibson's wife. He loses everything, becomes depressed, and resorts to a life of crime, as can be seen in Unbreakable. We know that this is the same character because of his love of football Americano. It's established early on in a scene in Praying with Anger. He goes to sporting events to sell and do drugs because football reminds him of a better time in his life. In the film Unbreakable, we see that Bruce Willis has strength and mind powers. On his first day of superheroing, almost everyone he touches at this train station place is an evil villain. Maybe this is why those people chose to leave the modern world and live in the village. Because in this world, everyone acts like this. In the final scene, when Samuel L. Jackson is revealing the twist, we can see newspaper clippings of articles about other Unbreakables from around the world. The evolution is real. People are changing. Can't you see the signs? In Signs, we follow yet another character struggling with his faith, Mel Gibson. Mel's character has sixth sense powers and can speak to his dead wife. Once again, Shyamalan tricks the audience into believing that these are just flashbacks or memories. But no, he is able to mentally transport himself into the spirit world to communicate with and see dead people. Mel Gibson has 2 children in this film, and they are also developing special powers, especially the little girl named Bo, who has feelings.
You have one of your feelings again?
But who is that Bo? We know that she has magical powers, but who is she really? Well, she played a big role in another film on our list. We'll get to that later. During the events that lead up to the alien invasion, Mother Nature begins to experiment with her new self-defense power, and the only place to start is the foundation of life itself, water. This was foreshadowed in Unbreakable when it is revealed that Bruce Willis's personal kryptonite is water. Water also plays an important role in Lady in the Water. M. Night really likes water. When the aliens come to invade the Earth, why do you think their only weakness is water? Because they're highly evolved extraterrestrial creatures who are more sensitive to Mother Nature's new weapon and can tell that Mother Nature's unbreakable fury will soon take over this planet. After seeing this film, many people ask why the aliens invaded a planet that is mostly water if water is what hurts them. Can they really be that dumb? No, the aliens didn't know the water would hurt them. They had not planned on Mother Nature's next stage of evolution, but maybe the environment was not the only reason the aliens gave up. Maybe they left because they soon figured out that they simply could not beat mankind. There is a scene where we hear people in the Middle East learn to beat them with primitive techniques. Maybe those techniques were just hand-to-hand combat with superhumans. It doesn't get any more primitive than that. During the invasion, aliens discovered that some humans were unbreakable. A select few had developed new strengths, new powers, like Joaquin Phoenix with his super baseball powers and Bo with her magical mind powers. So the aliens give up on their invasion. They could sixth sense that something on Earth was happening. They actually fled the planet so quickly that some injured aliens were left behind. This evolution creates a power struggle between humans, Mother Nature, and the spirit world. The conflict between humans and Mother Nature is depicted in the films Signs, Lady in the Water, The Happening, The Last Airbender, and After Earth. The conflict between humans and the spirit world is depicted in the films Praying with Anger, Wide Awake, The Sixth Sense, Signs, and Lady in the Water. In the years following the alien invasion, the survivors rebuild and life pretty much goes back to normal. Or so they think. Then the happening happens. Everyone who is not unbreakable is killed by toxins from Mother Nature. The plants make humans kill themselves in order to stop them from destroying the Earth, like with pollution and stuff. The only survivors are now those with superpowers. The world is run by the Unbreakables. The film The Happening is very significant to the universal universe theory. This is when Shyamalan really started to let the audience know that he had something up his sleeve. Just look at the tagline on the poster. This was out there for everyone to see, hiding right under our noses. We've sensed it, we've seen the signs, now it's happening. Some may see this as a ridiculous idea the marketing team came up with to try to remind the world of M. Night's earlier works, but if you really look close, you can understand the true meaning. They are straight up telling us that all of these films take place in one large single-story arc. Like I said before, The Happening is key to this theory. This is where it all started happening. The Indian American guy even makes an appearance. Oh, you didn't see him? He was the guy who kept calling Zoe, trying to steal her from Marky Mark. He knows the world is changing and wants to protect her. He sees this as his last chance before Armageddon. So, he keeps calling and calling and calling and calling and calling her throughout the whole film. The Happening ends with Marky Mark and his funky bunch giving up hope and going out into nature. And the twist is that they don't kill themselves. They think the happening is done happening, but they're actually just unbreakable, and the plant's toxins cannot penetrate their superpowers, which they don't know they have. Yet. Notice the first and last scenes in The Happening. There's always one person left alive, a sole survivor. She is unbreakable. He is unbreakable. They are unbreakable. Remember those injured aliens who were left behind on Earth? Well, unfortunately, this is where the story becomes sick and twisted, just like the mind of its creator. This whole time, these injured aliens have been reproducing with various wildlife from around the globe, thus bringing forth new species and the next stage of evolution. Animals are now becoming monsters, and maybe these were the monsters that the people of the village were actually warning us about. Just take a closer look at the grass monkeys from Lady in the Water. Throw a red hood over them and what do they look like? That's right, the monsters from the village. This leads us to the Lady in the Water. Scary grass monkeys and wolves, magical nymphs, and giant eagles are now a part of this ecosystem. In order to protect themselves from the killer plants, some animals actually evolved into plant-like creatures themselves. And of course, this new stage of evolution is affecting the social and political climate of the world. Which brings us back to that former park ranger / former doctor / veterinarian / drug dealer / that Indian American guy. He is now a struggling writer living in Paul Giamatti's apartment complex. The events in Lady in the Water lead him to write a book that starts a revolution during these fragile times. The book causes an assassination or something and leads to mass panic and war among the Unbreakables. But the real story of Lady in the Water is really just a simple fairy tale about a water nymph trying to get back home to her world, wherever that may be. The humans are left in awe after the fight with the monsters and the giant eagle takes her back to the spirit world. This inspires the humans to try to strengthen and experiment with their magical superpowers that they didn't know they had. These bizarre Lady in the Water events cause some of the Unbreakables to develop powers to control the elements of nature. Fire, water, earth, air, and more. It is because of this nymph that mankind was able to continue on and further evolve. Years go by, and now some of the Unbreakables like to be called airbenders or waterbenders and stuff like that. No, this is not the same thing as the animated TV show that you're thinking about. This is M. Night's own creation, as you can tell because the movie is so very different than the TV show. So you can't pull anything from the animated television program to disprove the Shyamalan theory. You just can't. Now the world is inhabited by powerful super beings. But eventually, after hundreds of years, the animals, plants, and overall environmental conditions on Earth become too much for the humans to handle. The unbreakable airbenders team up with the descendants of the village people, which have remained untouched by the plant-pocalypse for hundreds of years, because their lifestyle did not harm the environment. Until now. By now, enough time has passed that the village people have naturally progressed and almost seem modern now. Together with science and magic, they develop technology to help the unbreakable airbenders and the village people leave the Earth. And just like their ancestors left behind the modern world to live in the village, they leave behind the Earth so that Mother Nature can stop killing everyone and just freaking relax. These events lead us to After Earth, where we follow a fresh prince who crashes onto a strange planet. The twist is that it's Earth. But I guess it's not really a twist because the word Earth is in the title. Little Jaden Smith is the first human to step foot on Earth since his ancestors left centuries ago. He also has a sixth sense and connects to the spiritual world in the form of flashbacks, or at least that's how the modern movie-going audience would interpret it. This little child ventures his way, kind of blind, through a planet full of monsters, just like his blind ancestor did, Ron Howard's daughter. Now Will Smith's son is on a planet where everything on it has evolved to destroy humans. And he's a human. This was the world that The Happening was trying to create. And maybe this was the paradise that the village people were trying to create too. A pure world without the influence of man's violence, hate, or ignorance. Now it just has violent animals, like these monkeys. Except now they aren't made out of grass. But they do hate water. So there's that water thing again. Before you go thinking, okay, these are just a few coincidences, no need to overanalyze this, they're just movies, let me share with you the final piece of M. Night's mysterious cinematic puzzle. I went back and spent days watching and rewatching every Shyamalan film that Netflix and YouTube would allow, searching and searching for hidden clues from this M. Night movie magician. Then I noticed the most startling connection yet. All of his films feature some sort of plant life. Praying with anger, plants and leaves. Wide awake, grass and trees. Sixth sense, trees and grass. I'm sure Unbreakable had a tree somewhere. Signs had cornfields, The Village had a whole forest, Lady in the Water had grass creatures, After Earth had all of Earth, and even The Visit had some shrubbery. But when The Happening came out, M. Night Shyamalan revealed to us Mother Nature's true sinister plan. The villainous plant life were in the background of all of his films this whole time. This entire universe would crumble to pieces if it wasn't for the nymph from Lady in the Water. She slipped out of the spirit world into the normal world of humans and found a friend there after going back to her world, the spirit world, via Eagle, an early ancestor of the eagle that saved Jaden Smith. She kept trying to find a way to see her beloved Paul Giamatti again. So, with her magic, she opened up a portal in time, space, and the afterlife, allowing ghosts to travel into our world at any time in history. This explains why there's so many ghosts everywhere all the time in this universe. Eventually, the nymph gets reincarnated while she's traveling through time to find Paul Giamatti. She is born again into a new body. Now the nymph is just a human baby. A baby who can smile.
They say babies that young can't smile. You smile. Your eyes are so big and gorgeous. All the ladies in the room just gasped. I mean, they literally gasped. And they go, oh. She's like an angel.
Yes, Bo from Signs is the nymph from Lady in the Water. She traveled through time and space to start her life over. This becomes obvious once you notice her fascination with water and how sensitive she is to it. Bo also wears a bright blue dress, as if she's preparing for her magical future. And like I said before, she has feelings, which just means she has magical powers. These are the early signs that show she is slowly evolving into a magical water nymph creature. Bo the nymph is the character that brings this theory full circle. Of course, Bo survives the alien invasion and the happening. The years pass, and this is where Bo's magic consumes her, and she becomes full nymph, thus leading to the events in Lady in the Water. And this explains why her story is a fairy tale prophecy. because it already happened. They were just retelling her own story from an alternate time, from a parallel dimension. This is where she's finally reunited with Paul Giamatti, and it's their love for each other that binds all of the Shyamalan films together. Different people from different ages and even different species finding ways to live together in peace. And sometimes war. All of these films take place during a brutal war between mankind and Mother Nature that spans thousands of years. But Mother Nature is not the winner of this war, neither is mankind. The real winner is M Night Shyamalan for pulling the greatest cinematic twist ever on all of us. He tricked us into thinking that he made a few less than perfect movies, but in reality, it was just one long, brilliant, perfect story arc about the struggle between humans, nature, ghosts, and some aliens. And oh yeah, and monsters too. Overarching themes in a single unified timeline. Now that's what I call a twist. That is the world of M. Night Shyamalan. And that is the M. Night Shyamalan theory. Epilogue. I haven't watched the TV show yet, so I don't know if that fits in, and Donnie Wahlberg and Marky Mark are related, so there's a connection there, and all of his films take place in Philadelphia or somewhere in Pennsylvania, so there's that. The end.